Morning. And I'm actually not going to sing my presentation today, you'll be glad to know. So. No, it was good last night, wasn't it? I really enjoyed it, so it was good. And thank you for all the other people who got up as well. It wasn't just me, that was good. Right, so this is my session, Demystifying iOS Handling and Document Providers. It's a bit of a grandiose title. But really, it's to try and answer some of the common questions that people have using iOS. I mean, there's lots and lots of different questions. Some of these up here. It's quite frustrating, really. And it's probably one of the barriers to using an iPad or an iPhone as your primary device. I know a lot of people can actually do that, but for me personally, there's certain issues with the iPad that prevents me from using it as my primary device. And access to the file system, or the lack of a file system, is really one of those things that stop me. So what I'm going to try and do today is just really try and demystify the current situation as to how you can access files and achieve the Holy Grail, really, of interacting with files with different apps. I mean, for years we've had the ability to synchronize apps between platforms, but to actually sort of open apps, rather open files in individual apps and share them has always been difficult. So before I go into the detail, let's just have a quick history lesson of what we had before iOS, and we still have today, really, on PC and desktop platforms. And we had Snow Leopard, we had Windows, and we had hard drives. We could access the entire hard drive. We could use any application to save files anywhere. The only really limitations were file compatibility and file permissions. So, before iOS, we had this free range to do whatever we wanted with our files. But of course, when the iPhone came along, with iPhone 1.0, that all changed. I mean, as we said yesterday in the Mac Roundtable, it was a groundbreaking device. But they introduced this new paradigm of not being able to access a file system. The file system was hidden. In fact, for the first iPhone, we didn't even have third-party applications, so it wasn't really an issue at the time, although we did have the Apple apps, but no file system, a little bit worrying to some people. And then, as it progressed, things started to change. We got the App Store SDK, we started to get third-party apps. We had good old Mobile Me. And that started to introduce some syncing, but still it wasn't quite there. There's still a long way to go. So what did we actually do? What did we do in those days to sort of synchronize our files and to use files within apps? Well, the main thing was Dropbox. Dropbox became the de facto standard for using different files within apps and synchronize them between all our devices. And it worked really well, but it was still very much siloed. There was still sharing files within a single app and then synchronizing those apps files to another device, then using that app as well. They did introduce iCloud as well further along the way, but although there was some limited inter-app operobility, you could actually use the open-in mechanism, but still wasn't exactly what we needed. It was mainly a great mechanism for syncing and for backing up your operating system. So things progressed, and we ended up with a blank slide. Oh, there we go. We ended up, with iCloud services. And over the years since iOS 6, right up to date, they've been introducing lots and lots of different functionality in iOS. These are just some of them under the umbrella of iCloud services. So you recognize most of those, backup and restore, photo stream, find my friends. This is all sort of iCloud, this nebulous thing called iCloud. There are some apps, though, that do use iCloud for data storage and use it very effectively. So we've got iCloud Photo Library, that synchronizes all our photos quite nicely between everything. iTunes Music Library, that's still up for debate, but I find it works great, synchronizing all my music across all my different devices. But the one I really want to focus on today is this one here, this Documents and Data Sync. Sort of a more traditional approach of using files and documents in apps on iOS. I'm not really going to look at data sync, although that's a mechanism that is working really well, and lots of apps are sort of taking advantage of that. It's really the actual documents themselves, the more traditional, how we handle files in iOS, that's what I want to focus in on. So there are three main file storage locations for iOS, three different types. There's the iCloud Drive folders, local app folders, and this third-party cloud storage providers, which enable you to synchronize your documents not using iCloud. And I'm actually going to go through each one in a bit of detail and explain to you some of the terminology and some of the background to what you can actually do with these different storage mechanisms. So first one is iCloud Drive folders. Big, huge improvement in iOS 9 is that we now have this new iCloud Drive app. And that exposes your iCloud Drive folders, but also these third-party document providers, which I'll explain a bit more in detail as we go through. But the iCloud Drive app itself, I mean, basically when you open the iCloud Drive app, it gives you a view on your iPad, on your iPhone, of all your iCloud Drive folders. Now, certain apps create their own iCloud Drive folders. These are sort of like app containers. That if you install an app that has an iCloud Drive folder or access to iCloud Drive, it will create these little app-specific folders. Anything you put in these folders is replicated and synchronized across with iCloud, so you can get to it using iCloud on the web, or you can get to it using your iPhone. You can also get to it using your Mac as well. So we have this concept now of iCloud Drive in the sidebar, and you'll see that all those folders, all those app-specific folders, are replicated across on your Mac. There is a slight difference though. On iOS, you do find that when you try to save files in these folders, and I'll show you this a little bit later on, that there are some restrictions on the app-specific folders in that you can only sort of save certain types of files in those folders. Normally, only files that those particular apps can open. On the Mac, of course, it's fine. You can drop any file you want in any of these folders, and it will be synchronized across all your devices. But as well as the app-specific folders, we also have the ability to create our own folders. We can create topic-specific folders if we want. So if I wanted to, I could create like a project folder in there. That's completely open. I can put anything I want in there. The only limitations really are file size. I think it's 15 gigabytes now. You can actually create a file up to 15 gig and drop it in these folders, and it will synchronize across. Never tried one that large. It seems a bit ambitious, actually, 15 gig for a single file in iCloud, but we'll see. And also, iCloud Drive itself, you have a limitation to the amount of storage. Now, obviously, everyone gets a free iCloud Drive, 5 gigabytes. You can bump that up if you want. You can pay for extra storage and make good use of it. But let's have a look at one of the actual app folders itself. This is an app called PDF Expert. And if I was to tap on the icon in the iCloud Drive app, I will actually see on my current iPad, and I'm actually not going to try and do this live because I really don't like doing live demonstrations. It never goes well. So this is all animated, and I've got some videos as well to show you. But this would be the contents of, of the app-specific folder in iCloud. I've got 3 PDFs. PDF Expert is a PDF application, and I can get to them directly from the iCloud Drive app. Local app folders, well, these are areas on your iPad or your iPhone where apps have created local storage. So it's completely separate from iCloud Drive. And you might say, well, why do I need local app folders? Why can't I just save everything in iCloud Drive? Well, crucially, the local app folders, they aren't synced. So you can't sync them with iCloud Drive. They are completely separate. You can optionally back them up if you want to back up the data that's in these local folders. But you might have iCloud storage limitations. You might only have the free account. You don't really want to put tons and tons of files into these local app folders. You might have security restrictions. The documents that you create, you might want to be in someone else's cloud. You want to keep them locally to your iPad. And also it's developers' choice as well. I mean, we've still got apps that developers haven't written to take advantage of iCloud Drive, so they've just created local app folders. So I really want to drill down a bit more into local app folders because they have some hidden benefits. Not all of them, but there's like 2 types. And this is my terminology. I call them siloed or shareable. And I'm actually going to show you some examples of these. But siloed is the local app itself can only access the files contained within its local app folder. So it's sort of sandboxed, nothing can get to it. You might still be able to export it out if you want, but to be honest, import and export's a pain. It's a major pain, and it's not really what you want to do because you get the whole problem of managing files if you have 2 copies in 2 separate locations. So these siloed files are really meant to be used by the individual application. Then you have shareable. And this is where the local app folder is accessible to other apps via the document picker. And this is the bit where people get confused as to, what's this document picker? What are document providers? There's a whole terminology that we need to explain. So I'm going to use 2 apps to sort of give you a flavor of how this works. The first one is Byword. Byword is a word processing app that's been out for quite a while, and it has been upgraded through the years. So you'll see here in the sidebar, we have 3 different locations. We've got iCloud, we've got Dropbox, and we've got iPad. So iCloud, as you might imagine, this is your iCloud Drive folder. Now, if we think back, I've said before that these are iCloud Drive folders that are app-specific. Well, if Byword's got access to iCloud Drive, why hasn't it got an iCloud Drive specific folder? That's because I haven't actually saved anything. And you'll find this if you have an application that has access to iCloud Drive, until you actually save something in iCloud Drive, the app doesn't create one of these app-specific folders. So that's why Byword can access iCloud Drive, but it's not appearing here. If I was to save a file or create a file within the iCloud element on the sidebar, we would actually end up with a Byword folder in this view. So that's just why that's not there. We have Dropbox. This would give us access to a specific folder in Dropbox. And again, that's great. If you're using Byword on another machine, on a Mac or on an iPad, you could save it in Dropbox and you could access that file in Dropbox. No problem. And this folder, this is the iPad. So this is your local app folder. And it's just specific to this particular iPad. And I've just got the one document in there called Welcome. Again, I could export it if I wanted to, but no other application on my iPad can get access to this particular file, which really is no good for sort of inter-app communication. If you contrast that with another application, this is PDF Expert. This is a great app by Riedel. It's for managing and creating and annotating PDFs. And you'll see here, again, I've got access to iCloud, and this is my iCloud Drive folder. It's a different view. And you'll notice that if I go back into the iCloud Drive app, and if I was to tap on the PDF Expert icon, I would actually see the same 3 files. So in effect, it's the same view of the same folder, it's just through the application itself. And everything within this folder is being synchronized using iCloud. But you'll see above, there is also a Documents folder. And if I go into the Documents folder, there's a completely different set of files and folders in there. So I've got an iTunes folder for iTunes sharing. I've got a Downloads folder, which is currently empty. I've got a note that I created in PDF Expert, and I've also got the PDF Expert Guide. So you can't see this through the standard document picker within the Mac, but it's what's called a document provider, because all these files are actually accessible via this document picker system-wide tool. And this is the document picker. You'll probably recognize it. And you normally get this, if you do an open in an application, the document picker will open up. You can get access to your iCloud Drive app-specific folders, but you can also get to these things called document providers by using the Locations button up in the top left-hand corner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of run through a couple of videos. Now, I could have copped out and just recorded the video and left the narration on and just played a video, but I thought I wouldn't do a cop-out. I'll actually sort of try and walk you through this live. So there might be some pregnant pauses. I might hit the wrong button and it might start without me, but we'll just see how it goes. So what I'm going to do here, this is Mail, and what I want to do is I want to attach a document from PDF Expert, which is a document provider. I don't want to take it from the iCloud Drive folder. I want to take it from the local folder within PDF Expert. So to do that, I would tap into the body of the email, and then I would hit the Attachments button, which is on the right-hand side. It gives me the document picker. So this is just one way into the document picker. Now, as I said, if I wanted to pick out one of my iCloud Drive documents, I'd tap on the PDF Expert folder. That would open up, and I'd see those same 3 PDF files. But I don't want to do that, so what I want to do is go back out. So I'll tap up in the top corner. That will take me back to this view, and then tap on Locations. And that gives me access to my document providers, one of which is PDF Expert. So let's see if this pops up. There we go. Right, so iCloud Drive is in that list, because iCloud Drive is in itself a document provider. It provides documents for you to access and to share. But we've got this More button, and if I tap on the More button, we'll get a list of applications installed on this iPad that are classed as document providers. So these applications, you can actually access them and get files out of their local storage and use them in other applications with a proviso, but I'll come to that proviso shortly. But I know where the file is. It's in PDF Expert. It's in the local folder there. I want to get access to it. So I switch on the PDF Expert document provider. I tap Done. If I go back into Locations, PDF Expert is now there. So I've now got access both to iCloud Drive documents within PDF Expert, but also in its local folder as well. So if I actually tap into there, what should happen is that, there we go, I get a view of that Documents folder, which is the local app folder. I've got the downloads folder, I've got the note that was created, I've got the PDF expert guide. If I wanted to pop that note in, I just tap on the note, and it will take that out of PDF expert, and it will drop it into the mail, and I can now send that off. So that's how I would send it, just address it, hit send, and off it goes. I can also bring things in via the document picker into the local folders within the document providers. So, for instance, if I wanted to get this research paper 4 down at the bottom, what I would do is I would tap and hold, brings up the share sheet, and on the share sheet we've got the Save Attachment button down at the bottom, so I tap that, opens the document picker. If I wanted to drop it into my iCloud Drive folder and have it synchronized everywhere, I could just open up the PDF Expert folder at this level, and that would show me the current contents. Might need to tap that again. Yep, there we go. So there's the 3 PDFs in the iCloud Drive folder. Don't want to do that. I want to go to Locations. I want to tap PDF Expert. It gives me access to its local folder, and then I can just say, well, I'll just say export to this location. That extracts the file from the mail, drops it into PDF Expert, and if we just come out of here, as if by magic, there we go into the application, and then go into the Documents folder. There you see, Research Paper 4 is now stored in its local app folder. Okay, so, and again, we've got all the benefits now of, that's not being synchronized across if I didn't want it for security purposes or whatever, but I can still access that file from other applications using the document picker and tapping on locations. The third storage area are these other cloud-based document providers, so apps and services that provide cloud-based storage and syncing completely independently from iCloud Drive. And we've got some stalwarts here. We've got Dropbox, Box, OneDrive, Google Drive. These are all document providers, but they're not all equal. Some have some limitations. I mean, obviously OneNote and Google Drive are great if you're using Microsoft products. You probably want to stick with OneDrive and Google Drive for Google Docs. But Dropbox and Box, if you're trying to mix and match, these are 2 that you might want to consider. I'm actually going to demonstrate some of the subtle differences, though, between these applications. Because when the developers develop these apps and develop the APIs, there are only 4 different sort of file operations that are allowable when they write these applications. First one is import-export. The third one is open, and the last one is move. And just to give you a brief explanation, so import and export, it's really copying files in and out of a storage location, which is okay, but again, you don't really want to import and export because you end up with multiple copies of the same document, and it's really hard to know, which has been updated, which is the current version. If you can at all avoid it, you really don't want to use import and export. So the Holy Grail is really the open action. And open allows you to open a file in situ. You don't have to import it into your app. You're in an app, you want to open a file, you want to edit it, you want it to be edited in situ, and when it's saved, you want it to remain in that location. So you just have a single file, and that can then be replicated about. So if you're using a cloud-based service, you can get to that on your Mac, you can get to it on your iPad, you can get to it on your iPhone. But there's just the one file, and you edit in situ. And a move is just the option to move files around and about, moving it to a different location. So if we take a look at Dropbox, now I love Dropbox. I've used it since it came out, and I still use it, but really just for synchronizing files between platforms. It's not really best suited to sharing files within apps. So if you want this holy grail of editing files in situ, Dropbox really isn't the way to go. It's quite difficult to move to access in that respect. It's great for syncing documents, but within the document picker, it only supports import and export, not open. So you can't open a file in situ in Dropbox and edit it. So to show you what that looks like, right, back to PDF Expert, you'll notice that there's an open button within the sidebar, and if you actually tap the open button, say I want to open a PDF in PDF Expert to edit it. Right, so we've got the standard iCloud Drive, top level. We've got PDF Expert because we've included that in our list of document providers. So if I know that the file is in the local app, I can open that up. Sorry, hang on. Right, we've already got PDF Expert configured, but I now want to get into Dropbox. That's where the file that I want is. But you'll see here that Dropbox doesn't support opening files. And even if I switch Dropbox on to appear in that list, if I tap on locations again, it still doesn't appear. So I can't open a file in situ in Dropbox. I have to go over to the Dropbox application, export it from Dropbox into PDF Expert, edit it, then I've got two copies, the same file, two different copies. So not really what I want to do. So if we compare and contrast that with Box, Box does support the Open File API. It's cloud-based, so we can edit files. It will synchronize across all our devices where we have Box installed. But it does crucially allow you to open files in situ. And it's got really robust support for many apps, including Office 365. There's a ton of integration with Office 365. So in this particular instance, what would happen, and just to save a bit of time, I've gone through the process now. I've opened up Word on my iPad. I've tapped on the Open icon. I've got my document picker has come up. I've gone to locations. Box wasn't there, so I've configured Box to appear in this list. And all I need to do now is just tap on the Box icon in the list. And what will happen is it will go away. It will open up my Box account. I can see all my folders inside my Box account. I'm in Word. I want to open a Word document. So I tap on the Word Docs folder, and I'll see the contents. So the file I want to edit is iOS 8 topics. Tap on there. It will actually, if it isn't on the iPad, it will download it from Box in the cloud, opens up the file, and I can actually go ahead and start editing this. But crucially, it hasn't made a copy and left the original in Box and brought it down to my iPad. It still knows that the original file is located in Box in the cloud. So I do some editing. There's no save. I just come back out, and you'll see it saved it automatically. But I will, in the background, what it's doing now is it's uploading that file to Box in the cloud, and lo and behold, I get a notification, your upload has completed successfully. So, Holy Grail achieved. I've got one copy of the file, I've edited it on my iPad, and the edited version remains in the cloud and will synchronize with my Mac, and all is good. You can also, with Office 365, you can add Box as a place and integrate it fully into the app, but I just really wanted to show you it using it as a standard document provider. Okay, just a couple of things. If you do install a document provider, I hit this a lot, I'm thinking, what's going on here? I found that in some instances, if you install a new application that's a document provider, you sometimes get this error message. I don't know why, it might have just been my iPad, but I was getting it fairly consistently. Just reboot your Mac, the IT crowd, switch it on, switch it off again. And it works fine, so don't worry about that. So to sort of summarize my recommendations, again, this is for app interoperability. If you actually want to have the Holy Grail of just having a single file. If you're heavily into the Apple apps and you've invested in an iCloud Drive upgrade, so you've gone for one of the increased storage tiers, just stick with iCloud Drive. It works great. It supports all the file actions, so you can do import, export, you can do open in situ. So if you have an Apple app, if you're using Pages or Excel, it will only actually use iCloud Drive anyway. You can export it, but if you open an app, you open it from iCloud Drive. When it's saved back into iCloud Drive, it all synchronizes. And it does actually work pretty well. It's not perfect. They've still got a lot of work to do. I'd still like to see some progress indicators or more robust progress indicators. But if you're heavily into the Apple apps, fine. Stick with iCloud Drive. It works great. If you do want an alternative, reliable cloud storage provider with good integration, Box is pretty good. I've been quite surprised just how sort of wide-ranging Box support is, and it works very, very well. And obviously, as I said before, if you're heavily into Google Apps, stick with Google Drive. Google Drive is integrated with Google Apps, but you've still got the option to go out and use it as a document provider. And also, if you're into Microsoft apps, it's probably sensible to stick with OneDrive, because the vendors will actually improve the integration with their apps with their own cloud storage solution. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just finish off by saying this was fairly rushed. It's a fairly complex process. I actually did a full screencast about this last week because I thought I'd kill two birds with one stone with being away. So there's a full 42-minute screencast that covers the points I've covered today and some more advanced stuff. For instance, the transmit content document provider is a really strange and wonderful beast. It allows you to use transmit to access files in the cloud, on FTP servers, on your Mac. If you're using your iPad and you actually want to get a document from your Mac, you can use transmit as a document provider, and that will actually go ahead and allow you to access and edit files in situ on your Mac from your iPad or your iPhone. But basically, that's it. I think a couple of minutes over. I mean, this is all a work in progress, and when you think of what it was in the early days, it was a complete mess. It's still complex, and there's no sort of one-size solution fits all. But hopefully, with iOS 10 and future developments, they're going to improve on performance and integrations, etc. Okay, well, thank you very much for your time, and thank you.